some of the strengths that people identified in their units?
So we got into our groups and we spoke about the strengths and the challenges that we had within all of our IBL units. Some of the strengths we had, we all agreed that the IBL activities were really engaging. Some of our kids picked it up really easily. Some took a while to adjust to that style of learning. They might have been more adjusted to direct teaching or explicit teaching, so they took a while to pick up on these new activities, but we all agreed that now they're loving these activities and we're implementing them more into other learning areas. A lot of the assessments that we created were really engaging and allowed them to have a purpose, and they felt their learning was purposeful. We spoke about how we adapted content descriptors to make the learning relevant. So, for example, Tori was doing a unit of Indigenous peoples, however they zoomed in and looked at the Kalkadoon people within the Mount Isa area rather than focusing on, groups within Sydney.
And what about the challenges?
Some of the challenges that we identified were timing. So a lot of the assessments may have been rushed in term 2 just to get them ready for report cards. So we identified that if we just make adjustments to our unit, we can say these 2 lessons, they may be left out. So that frees up a whole week where we could have more time to complete their assessment. Also, groupings wasn't a challenging issue for assessments, allowing students to choose their own groups. But that could be changed, and it was changed throughout the unit to make them more heterogeneous groupings, so these students are getting the most out of their learning.
Hi, my name's Peter. One of the focus that we looked at today was the reflective end of our unit. For me, it was very, very important. To be perfectly honest, I had completely forgotten to do it. In hindsight, looking back, it is a great tool and it should be done at the end of every unit. Looking at the strengths, what worked well, going back to the next bit, what didn't work well, what could we change. One of the things that I found most helpful was the hindrances. Were there any hindrances in your unit? For me, it was the inquiry itself. Having so much activity, having so much happening in the classroom, those students that found noise were actually ostracised. Having the groups should have been rearranged a lot better in the first place. Another thing that I really enjoyed was at the end was sitting down with the students, providing their feedback for them, whether that be formal or informal. We had ongoing question sheets that we assessed. As it was a very dynamic and social unit, the thing that I enjoyed was actually sitting down with the students and having a chat. This is where you did well, this is where you didn't do quite so well. This is where you can focus on in the future, and this is how we can use it in everyday life. I guarantee if you use the back of it, you do well. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Emily. After morning tea today, we revisited guides to making judgments, and Jenny gave us the task of finding an error within this guide to making judgments for HB years 5 to 6. We noticed that the language for a D standard in particular, it was using explanation, was not really correct and not reflective of that standard. And when we talked about this, we actually saw that it was a QCAA error, and it's something that Jenny contacted them about.
Hi, my name is Matthew. As one of the things looked at for IBL was the GTMJ creator. It's a very useful tool to use as teachers because it lets you design GTMJ all done for you already. So you just put in the year level and the subject that you're teaching, and it comes up with lists of GTMJs and content descriptions that you're using, and you just tick the ones you want, and it also tells you the difference between an A and B or C and D, etc. So it's very useful, saves a lot of time and effort as well, so it's really good.
Great example of the three-story intellect because it actually supports learners to look at the fact there are 3 stories: thinking on the ground, gathering, describing, telling, reciting, upstairs, processing, comparing, analysing, And then the top story, the bucket, where they predict, imagine, evaluate and judge. And Lauren has done this, and I'm sure you recognise it's the strand. We need more of this. We need learners to see real life contexts.
Okay, I will be your vodcast masterclass presenter for today. Now, with our vodcasts, we actually viewed one of the previous class, Catherine Cornish's, and which found through our shared site down the bottom, and you can see every other IBL's class throughout the years. Now, Kath used Animoto to create her vodcast, which is really great. It's quite easy, and Bron will talk about it later. Kath used her Telstar model to break apart her vodcast, which is great because you can then see each artefact she's used to show her Telstar model and her blog use. Kath used Animoto as well. I think it's really engaging, which you can see through a few of the comments created underneath her vodcast, not just for the kids but for also teachers seeing it later on. She also used lots of photos and other uses of technology such as Powtunes, Voki and Blogster, which Sally will talk about after Bronwyn.
Okay, Gary. I've always used slideshow, so I wanted to try something different. The girls have talked me into using Animoto, and apparently I can transform my photos and video clips into a stylised video.
If you don't want to use Animoto, you could use Movie Maker, Vimo, Prezi, Voki or Glogster.
Hi, I'm Elle. Today we also looked at practical strategies to improve student learning. We made a PD, or there was already a document on Google Docs, and it allowed us to input ideas for explicit use of questions, explicit use of thinking skills, frameworks, use of graphic organisers, and supporting student metacognition. So this has been going since 2014. So we just added our own ideas into that for today.
So we had a professional development with Jody last week on feedback and the importance of feedback for students. And according to John Hattie, the effect size is one of the highest of all the teacher strategies that we can use. So after we were greatly inspired by Jody, we went back into our classrooms and we've created boards where we can show the children what we're learning to do, what we're looking for, and what a good one will look like. And we're finding already that that's helping to structure our teaching and keep us more on track towards achieving the achievement standard that we're actually looking for.
To further elaborate on that, we spoke about peer-to-peer feedback, like providing, giving students the opportunity to talk to each other and collaborating, giving themselves feedback. That's really effective as well. You don't with the teacher having to sit down with the kids. There's many different ways to give feedback, and it's really great that we can incorporate a variety.
And across the years, she's given us examples of ways to give feedback in prep, so at a very simple level that our children can work with, through to Caitlin's in year 3, and all the way through to cover our entire program.
And it's also lovely, like, she remind you of strategies that exist and you probably did before, but you haven't done them again. You realise, well, they are effective, and it's great to start using them again.
Sam, Brooke and Bridie, this video was just for you. We missed having you here today.